Childhood. To be a kid. Personally, I don't remember much of mine in detail, whether that be due to time or trauma or both. Hard to say. I will say that the memories I do have are intertwined with food and boredom and human interaction. It's all very fuzzy though. There is one memory that I can't believe I am sharing right now, but it should have been an indication as to what the trajectory of my life would be, because clearly at a very young age, I loved acting and directing and writing. But life happens. Society really just messes with your mind. So I would say take what you loved from childhood and run with it into adulthood, because I've always known I loved this stuff because I was 9 or 10 at this time. When Pirates of the Caribbean came out, I was absolutely obsessed. I loved it. I've watched it so many times, and the 100th time, I'm pretty sure, when I watched it, my cousin was over to hang out, and I had the bright idea, because I loved this movie so much. I knew it like the back of my hand. But I also wanted to use my creative mind. I wanted to write a scene and, do my own rendition of Pirates of the Caribbean, but one particular scene and 2 particular characters. And it's not what you expect. It's literally Elizabeth Swann and her servant. It feels wrong to say servant. Was it her maid? Yeah, I don't know, but it was those 2 characters. I went on my computer, wrote up a little script, printed it out, handed a copy to my cousin, and forced her to read it with me, to perform it with me as well. We went on my jungle gym outside. I was the writer. I was the actor. I was the director. And, I was Miss Swan, of course. I'm not proud of this. It just goes to show how kids can be. Literally, I had no qualms with being the main character, and that's just how it's going to be. I'm going to be Elizabeth Swann. I did not give a crap. Yeah, we're going to get the scene right. I had a vision in my mind, and we were going to do this scene over and over again until I was satisfied. And you know what? We didn't even film it. It was based off pure vibes. If I felt like it was good, we could go inside and get a snack. Oh my god. It was a power trip. I had a bout of something came over me. Hopefully I'm not like that anymore. It's these moments that are bred in boredom that really stick with you, clearly, which is why I believe 2 Cars, One Night, directed and written by Taika Waititi, deservedly and rightfully was nominated for an Academy Award and is the first short that I will be studying today.
From seed to plant to pollination, it's the budding artist.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Budding Artist Podcast. My name is Sarah, and today we are studying a short. I am so excited because this is the first installment of this series. And let me tell you, I want to preface by saying I really scraped the internet, Google, YouTube, IMDb, interviews, wherever else I could find information. I really dove deep to find as much as I could about this short. Alas, there's still some information that I could not get, i.e. the script. But I'm not going to beat myself up for it because I still learned so much and I would love to share it. So, without further ado, let's dive right into 2 Cars, One Night. To be frank, before I did this, I did not seek out short films to watch on my free time. I knew about them, and I think it was much later in life where I knew that short films could even be nominated for Academy Awards, which is very cool. But the only ones that I have watched are the ones that I was in, which sounds incredibly narcissistic. But if I had my way, I wouldn't even watch those because watching yourself, it's tough. It is tough, and that is a conversation for another day. But I mean, I'm so glad that I am exposing myself to this now because I really want to shoot my own short. So what better way to do that than to watch other amazing shorts that are already out there. Hold on, let me get my computer out for this because I have copious amounts of notes that I would love to share, and I need to keep track of everything that I'm saying because it is quite a hefty amount of information. And yeah, so BRB. And we're back, baby. It's a different day, mayhaps not even the same week. Who's to say? For the folks that have chosen the audio version to consume this episode, I am no longer wearing my pink fun striped shirt. I have opted for this blue striped shirt instead. I'm in my stripes era, I guess. I also have this whole new setup. I'm feeling a little precarious about the setup, but it's probably because it's new, and I'm also not used to having a screen right in front of my face for these types of episodes, but I'm also not confident or comfortable being able to regurgitate this much information and feeling like I've covered everything. So this computer will be my best friend for these types of episodes, and it'll be great. I just have to get used to it. Another thing I have to get used to is this guy on my shoulder, little ghosty. What better way to celebrate the spooky season than to have him as a guest, right? This little guy. You know, it's kind of lonely not having another artist here to interview, so I have Mr. Ghost instead. I really hope that I release this episode on Halloween Day because that would just be perfect. So Halloweeny. This is a note to future Sarah to please edit this and release it on Halloween Day. You know, I fear that I will be digressing a lot during this podcast episode because that's just where my head is at right now. However, organizationally, how I put this episode together is kind of how I'm going to structure it orally, if that makes sense. So research before the pleasure and the excitement of analyzing and watching the film itself. So what did I find? Plenty, but not enough at the same time, to say the least. I want to start off with Taika Waititi, though, because before this episode even came into fruition, I knew him from What We Do in the Shadows, Thor Ragnarok, and potentially being part of a throuple scandal, which, I mean, no judgments whatsoever if it was true. That was when I was chronically online, and it ain't my business. What I came to learn about him is quite amazing and inspirational. From all the interviews I've watched and the articles I've read, Taika from a very young age knew he wanted to be an artist. His mom being a teacher, his dad being a painter, they encouraged and supported his artistic endeavors, which to that I say I cannot relate. You know, for my parents, they don't really see art as useful or stable, which I really don't blame them for. And also, this isn't a therapy session, so I won't even make it one. That's something I will process on my own time. However, the encouragement was so strong, so much so that for a large part of his 20s, he was a painter and he learned everything that he knows about painting from his father, which is so adorable. And also, I'm starting to realize that I did not look into any of his paintings, and I'm going to do that right after filming this episode. I will insert them here. Oh, look at this painting, or look at this painting. Oh, this one's nice. This is a nice painting. I also think he was a photographer, but I'm just not going to get into that because that is another side tangent. Taika was a painter until he decided that he hasn't tried out acting or filmmaking yet. So he was like, why not give it a go? So he did in his late 20s, which strangely parallels with my own life. Honestly, it made me feel like less of a fraud somehow. Actually, I also listened to the newest episode of Wiser Than Me with Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Lena Totenberg as the guest. And they were talking about this feeling of uncertainty and not feeling legitimate or authentic in their work. and how it's such a female thing. And I just really wonder if it ever goes away. I guess it also brings into question why I feel more validated after researching a man. I guess another thing to ponder later. In the end, it's just a good reminder that there's no age or education limit when it comes to art, and it's just really cool to see it in this way. Even curiouser is the fact that Two Cars, One Night was conceived in a green room of a television show where Taika was cast to be a stripper, which, oh my god, what an image. It also made me consider submitting myself into more unexpected, dubious, interesting roles, just to get the creative juices flowing, you know? I mean, he wrote an Academy Award nominated short film by playing a stripper. I wonder what kind of story I could write on the opposite end of the spectrum. Maybe a nun? Something to chew on. Let's just say the phrase of this episode is "in the most unlikely of places." Again, I really wish I was able to get my hands on the script because I would have loved to read it and then see how it translated on screen. But oh well. What happened after that, you ask? Get ready for some years getting thrown at you. After writing the script around 2001/2002 time period, Taika petitioned to the New Zealand Film Commission to get funding to produce the short, which he successfully got. According to the New Zealand Film Commission website, it says that $70,000 was granted as a short film fund investment in 2002/2003. I'm not really sure if the $70,000 was in New Zealand dollars or in US dollars, but if it was in New Zealand dollars, the conversion is around $43,000 USD, which, I mean, that's still a really incredible amount, all things considered. I mean, enough to leave me with a quandary of whether the cast and crew were compensated for their work. And I know it's not all about money. Money can be the killer of creativity and art. Yes. But unfortunately for me, I am a child of capitalism, and I'm sorry if I get a little twinkle in my eye when I hear that I could possibly be paid for my creative efforts. What was the saying? Love what you do and never work a day in your life. I would love that. On the flip side, in this day and age, it is a privilege to even do any art. So if you're dabbling in film or it's something that you truly love, money should not be a factor. In fact, being on set is such a fun experience in general. Making connections and enriching your craft, it's priceless. Okay, anyways, I have really lost the plot once again. All right, from there, Taika and Ainsley Gardner, one of the producers of Two Cars, One Night, established Defender Films Limited in 2003 to produce said short in collaboration with AIO Films Limited, which is Ainsley's other production company homing Indigenous storytelling in New Zealand, which I find very cool. Also, I believe Blue Skins Film Limited, run by Catherine Fitzgerald, the second producer of Two Cars, One Night, works in tandem with these two production companies to bring this story alive. Woof, that was a lot of information. And what can I get out of that? Personally, my business structure, I gotta kind of look into it a little bit more because I might have jumped the gun and started my production company a little bit early, considering the fact that I have a lot of initial cost and no profits coming in. So I'm at a net loss, which intrinsic value-wise, goodwill, education, connections, learning, all the fluffy good stuff, invaluable, I will say. I gained so much more, but also money is a true factor because, again, I am a baby of this capitalistic society, so I really need to look back into that, and I will. Another plot hole that I ran into is the production budget breakdown and schedule. I mean, I really don't think this information is just readily available unless I'm talking directly to the filmmaker, which, I mean, let me call my people to reach out to Taika's people, I guess. I'm not completely leaving y'all with a cliffhanger here. Based on IMDb and the press kit released in 2021, they had a whole ass crew comprised of, I believe, at least 80-ish people, which just goes to show It takes a village. I mean, they had an acting coach / chaperone since their actors were quite young. A focus puller. I was a focus puller at one point. That was really cool. A composer, and just like so much more that you could look up on IMDb. That's the manpower. What about the machine power? I believe all the equipment was rented out from Panavision and various other places. I think it's just common practice to rent out film equipment, but I also know people that have their own film equipment, which is super awesome, but also not nice on the pockets. Either way, I'm not going to pretend I know much about this, but the camera used was the Reflex 35 BL3 camera, and Zeiss Ultra Prime lenses were used. All I know is that these are expensive. What I can take from this is the overall look and feel the Reflex gives from watching the short film. This actually also gives me the idea to volunteer my time to try out different positions on set. Be the sound guy for the day, focus puller again. Being on set as crew is just really fun. I think it would just be really helpful also just to see how all the moving pieces come together, get to know the parts, to understand the whole of filmmaking. If you get my drift, my neurons are on fire right now. So anyways, casting. I believe the crew searched 12 different schools looking for actors. The 3 kids playing Romeo, Ed, and Polly ended up being from the same tribe and the same school right next to the Takaha pub, which is the location of the film. They had no acting experience prior, but Taika says that they were all naturals, which they really were based on what I saw. I want to go back to the location really quickly. The Takaha pub, it's located on the East Cape of New Zealand. I think that's where Taika grew up. According to him, this is one of the very pubs that he would sit in front of as a kid with other kids. He said that they would go in between the cars, play, talk, make fun of each other. I mean, being a kid, really. This short was set in the 1960s, which means that there wasn't an iPad or these nifty little iPhones to quench your boredom and instantly gratify you. So what's left? Human interaction, of course. It's the human condition, reaching for connection, finding that sliver of silver lining or the light in the darkness. I think that in the press kit, Taika says something actually super beautifully about this. Let me see. Director's notes. By nature, when faced with grim circumstances, we tend to look for the light, the warmth, the beauty in life. It is this mood, this feeling I want to capture in the film. One small moment of beauty, happiness, or love lives longer in the memory than a lifetime of sorrow. This brief but enduring encounter is like a flower in a field of coal. Small but beautiful, it stands out, leaving an impression on the mind. The children's meeting is a chance at something. Love or even human contact, like a seed searches for soil to grow. Sometimes it takes root, sometimes it doesn't, but it always has the potential to create something wonderful. That is life. I couldn't have said it better myself. Beautifully put. If anything, it's just a really unique setting for a film about a budding friendship between 2 kids. Can I just go back to one thing really quick? New Zealand Film Commission, anyone? I went down a rabbit hole. The fact that Taika hasn't had to pitch a project in the way that I've heard from webinars and writing forums due to the fact of 1, the New Zealand Film Commission, and 2, Marvel bringing him on to do Thor Ragnarok is kind of amazing. A true preparation meets opportunity moment. I'm not even going to risk fudging the information for this, so I'm just going to go right onto the website. It says that the New Zealand Film Commission provides grants, loans, and equity investments to New Zealand filmmakers and businesses to assist in the development and production of feature films and shorts. It is a government agency. So our aim is to support the New Zealand film industry to make amazing, original, satisfying, and culturally significant New Zealand films. To be funded, projects generally need to have significant New Zealand content. To assess this, we look at factors such as the subject of the film and who is involved in the film. You will be able to apply for funding from the New Zealand Film Commission if you are a New Zealand citizen, permanent resident, or a business registered in New Zealand. I am none of those things. What is this budget even made from? Government funding, lottery grant board funding, income from films, interests, and reserves. Anticipated revenue for 2023/2024 is around $31 million. You know, I tried looking to see if the US has an equivalent, and all I have to say is, of course not. I believe California does have a film commission, but the most you can get is a tax credit, which I guess could be helpful. In the place of a proper film commission, we have competitions and other grants that you can apply for with a fee. But you know what? I'm just being a little dramatic about this whole thing because I actually did my own research and found the Pandora Short Film Grant, which you can submit for free. Now let me go on to this website and get the deets for you. The Pandora Short Film Grant is a non-profit organization that awards an annual $12,000 grant to a U.S. filmmaker for the production of their short narrative film. In addition, the grant winner and 3 finalists receive mentorship from award-winning filmmakers, camera rental hookups from our sponsor, Panavision, for thousands of dollars, which 2 Cars in One Night did that too, and as much support as we can give to help the selected films get made. Very cool. And then also, let's see why narrative short films are notoriously hard to raise money for. The minimal financial returns make it rare for investors to fund a short, and yet short films are a vital part of our cinematic landscape and an important medium for emerging filmmakers. We aim to give a big boost to US filmmakers with a bold vision. That says it all, doesn't it? Not a moneymaker, therefore hard to get funding for. Interesting. Oop, it's Future Sarah here. I just wanted to point out again that 2 Cars One Night was Taika's debut into filmmaking, and it's led him into this outrageously successful career within the industry. The absolute triumph of the short led the New Zealand Film Commission to encourage Taika to continue making films. The result? His first feature film, Boy, which is in some ways a continuation, or at the very least inspired by 2 Cars One Night, and just so many other films that he's been a part of and created. So the importance of short films can kind of be understated sometimes. Alright, that is all. Back to our regular broadcasting. So like I said before, money can kill creativity and art in some ways. Anyways, you can apply for that if you have a short idea until the end of this year, I believe December 31st. So that is open. I'm going to search for more and see if I could just post this on my website that isn't ready yet. I'm working on that. I'm hoping to have it as a place where it's easily accessible to get resources and just more information about certain things, film, acting, the like, books, all of that. I think it would be really cool to do. I'm trying to do that as soon as possible. There's just really not a lot of time in a day because, you know, I gotta work as well. So anyways, that is all the information I can muster for the production of the short. From all the research I did, I was able to glean some wisdom from Taika himself, in particular for writing. A few things that really stuck with me was, 1, write what you know. A lot of the dialogue from the short was inspired by conversations he's had with his family as a kid. And I gotta say, he writes in the lens of a child very well. I mean, that sounds really weird. I don't know how else to explain it because he has other films, Boy, Jojo Rabbit, Hunt for the Wilder People, and so on. Anyway, 2 specifically for short screenplays, make it a movie scene. This was a wake-up call for me because I have a few short ideas that are in the works, but I just have so much going on, too many locations, too much dialogue, too many characters, etc. And I gotta scale it back a bunch. So let me use that advice and see where it takes me. Hopefully I could just close some out. Lastly, and arguably the least popular piece of advice, he even admits himself, he would write a script and then put it away for a year or 2 years and then come back to it, read it a few times, then rewrite the entire script from memory, and he would go from a 120-page screenplay to an 80-page screenplay. Pretty much that would be his final draft at that point. Personally, I have done this on a smaller scale and smaller time frame. It really helps to just go live my life, touch some grass, garner more experiences, be around people I love, being around people generally speaking, because it just gives me so much more insight as to maybe what I've missed or what the story is actually about. Frankly, this kind of can be used for many avenues of creativity. Art imitates life after all. All right, what about the film itself? Two Cars, One Night. It was such a joy to watch. I recommend watching before or after this analysis. It really doesn't matter. I'll give you a little bit of information. Genre, it's dramedy. The length is only 11 minutes, and the logline is love is found in the most unlikely of places. See what I did there? It was such a great reminder of how simple storytelling can be hugely impactful. It brought me back to my own childhood in those moments of laughter, fun, play with friends or family, in those really boring, mundane situations. Visually, I believe that Adam Clark was the director of photography, and the collaborative, I'm sure, choice to shoot in black and white evoked such a nostalgic feeling and emotion. So beautiful. Cutting in again. I am about to be spitting so much film jargon. Similar to reciting Shakespeare, it takes some getting used to with the language. Though it may not be as dense, I just have to get these words in my mouth to really have it in there, my mind and body. So anyways, it's not me trying to be all snooty or whatever, it's just me trying to learn. Okay. Back to it then. Setting the backdrop with the wide shot of the Takaha pub with Ed and Romeo's car right up front really brought us into the world. The use of time lapses to represent the passage of time throughout the film was damn near ingenious. I mean, that and the juxtaposition of the medium close-ups of the kids in the cars, bored out of their minds, waiting for these adults to finish their mysterious business in the pub, does such a good job setting the tone. And then moving to the main story of Romeo, which, what a name, and Polly and their stages of friendship. The mixture of medium close-ups of the characters and the wide shot of the two cars and Romeo's whereabouts in his own car, in between the cars, and then all of a sudden being in Polly's car showed the gap that is eventually closed between the two. From rivals to a budding friendship sealed with a plastic diamond ring at the end. Whew. So good. Last thing that I want to bring up is the kids' acting really made me think about my own acting. As I learned from Sir Ian McKellen, you can learn so much from just watching TV and film. What makes a good performance and what makes a bad performance. All very helpful. And what I'm taking away from the performances in Two Cars, One Night is to bring play, which comes so easily to children, into my acting classes or on set or on stage even. Time to bring it home, boys. So the film was completed in 2003, and then in 2004/2005 was when Two Cars, One Night had its festival run. There was a bunch of festival screenings, including Sundance Film Festival, Aspen Short Film Festival, Newport International Film Festival, LA Film Festival, Planet Indigenous Film Festival in Toronto, just so many, Edinburgh Film Festival. Yeah, I mean, the list goes on. And then at the same time, it's being nominated and winning a bunch of awards, including getting nominated for the Oscar, as I said at the beginning, and then winning a bunch of New Zealand Film and TV awards, such as Best Short Film. It won the Short Award at the AFI Fest, just a host of awards, which is incredible. Okay, so with all that, in some ways going into this, I wasn't really sure what would come from this endeavor or how this episode would actually go. The point of this whole series is to learn and provide resources in an industry that notoriously has a high barrier to entry and is very gatekeepy, purposefully or not. I mean, I know that you could make a film with just your iPhone, but you know, sometimes you want the whole shebang, and why can't you have the whole shebang? Personally, I actually had a lot of fun in the process, and I kind of felt a kindred connection between Taika and my, timeline getting into this crazy industry. It gave me a little bit more hope in my own craft and journey, and it's also making me keep an eye out for a stroke of inspiration or a story in the most unlikely of places. Anyways, there's so much more to come. Thank you so much for listening. See you on the next ep. Bye!